It has been roughly 3 decades since the internet was publicly introduced for the enjoyment of all. Finding a person in the real world who shares your interests may be like finding a needle in a haystack, but the World Wide Web offered entire communities of like-minded individuals to bond, share stories, and grow together. These internet-based communities could be about anything from enjoyers of Thomas the Tank Engine, a show that is meant to entertain babies, to real-life engineers who work on trains. A community of such people today is called a fandom. The word itself is derived from the word fan, which is short for fanatic, and dom, which is a Latin root that means jurisdiction or any designated location meant for containment. Dom can also be meant to describe the dominating nature of fandoms and how they take over. Now, obviously, being a fan of something doesn't have to mean fanatical cult-like behavior, and that would be a gross overgeneralization of anyone who happens to have any degree of devotion to something. So I would like to take a moment to discuss with you what it means to be a member of a fandom. There is no application process to being a member of a fandom. It simply means participation, whether actively or passively. An example of passive participation may be simply watching the shows you like, while an actively participating fan may post on social media to spread awareness of the show so that it may gain more followers. They may also create fan art or animated tributes, which is very prevalent in the Undertale community because everyone wants to fucktorial. Back in the very distant past, like even before television, people found inspiration from folk heroes like Paul Bunyan and Davy Crockett, but more introverted people preferred to read, so they looked up to fictional characters like Sherlock Holmes and King Arthur. With the introduction of cinema and eventually television, people started going absolutely goo-goo fucking bananas over actors and actresses. When they went to the movies, they would empathize with their favorite characters and share their joy and grief and feel a parasocial kinship with them. Now, in the future, people can find inspiration everywhere they look. Your heroes don't have to be made of magic, strong, or even likable. They just have to be someone you can relate to. Don't think of it as finding an interest, but more like choosing a new identity. Most of us don't really like who we are because we feel like we have failed when we compare ourselves to the version of ourselves that we think we deserve to be. So we latch on to fictional characters and adopt their mannerisms and ideals in order to replace the parts of our own personality that we find lacking. This is going to become your identity, and you must protect it. Once you have found your fandom and you have established your community, your number one priority should be to keep on the lookout for haters. These quote-unquote people only exist in this world for the purpose of robbing you of your happiness by mocking your fandom. A lot of them try to justify this by saying TV shows are art, and that subjective nature of art practically makes criticism necessary, but that's just an excuse, as we all know. The truth is that they just don't get it, and you need to block them out of your life. Don't talk to them, don't even acknowledge them, because they don't care about you. The only people who should matter are your fellow fans because, after all, they are the only ones who really get you. They are the only ones who know how important your show really is, and they will fight alongside you tooth and nail until the bitter end. Attacks on you and your community can even come from where you least expect it, the show's creator themselves. They might denounce the fandom for being toxic, irrational, and other buzzwords, and it's important to show your devotion by not caving in and changing the way you are. After all, creators may come and go, but your show will always be there for you. If anything, the creator may in fact be the biggest threat of all, because the fate of the show rests entirely in their hands, and sometimes they will release a subpar episode for no reason other than to test your loyalty to the brand. As fans, you have a responsibility to mobilize and work together to collectively voice your opinion to the show's writers and entire staff to gently persuade them to make better episodes. After all, it's the fans who are the real driving force behind any intellectual property, not the writers or the original artists who created the property. They can express their creativity any way they like, but they have to make sure they do it in a way that is as pleasing to as many people as possible, or else face the consequences. For more information on this subject, I recommend watching the instructional film written by Stephen King called Misery, as it provides step-by-step instructions on how to slowly persuade a writer to listen to a fan's input in an easy-to-follow way. Now, you could stay on this step for the rest of your life, and the fandom would appreciate your service as the resident troll slayer, spending all your days online, hopping from forum to forum, shutting down anyone who dares to insult the show you feel so passionately about, is a respectable lifestyle that would make anyone proud. The only problem with living your life this way is that it's for amateurs. A true and honest fan knows when to go the extra mile, and you're no quitter. No, you need to start dressing like your favorite character, talk like them, act like them, make the same decisions they would. It makes perfect sense when you put it in perspective, doesn't it? For example, compare yourself to someone like Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. He might be a sociopathic, wretched human being with no moral compass to speak of, but he is one of the most popular characters in modern media. Are you that popular? Do you like yourself as much as you like Rick Sanchez? Wouldn't you like to be as smart and funny as Rick? If you have to think about it, you aren't ready. Make a lot of noise, too. Jump on tables screaming for Szechuan sauce because Rick mentioned it in an episode once. So it's a meme now, and everyone around you will laugh and think it's funny as hell. Trust me, man. Don't stop there. Never stop. Take your community from the internet to the real world by starting a commune like the Final Fantasy house. Shake off any feelings of shame or personal failure because they are irrelevant now. Put signs up around your house, electric chicken wire, armed guards, anything that can keep those haters away, such as your friends and family who, quote-unquote, want you to come back to reality, as if they have any idea what that means to you. At the end of the day, the only one who really knows what's best for you is you. And since you're Rick now, Rick wants you to stand your ground with 2 middle fingers in the air like the badass you know you really are. So, in closing, it is my hope that my presentation has provided some insight into what it means to be a part of a fandom. These examples should provide a decent groundwork for establishing your new identity by latching on to someone else's intellectual property in a mature and respectable way. For more information, see Steven Universe, Undertale, Five Nights at Freddy's, Team Fortress 2, Friday Night Funkin', and many more. As always, more videos will come when I feel inspired to make them. And until then, have a first-class day.